Okay, we're going to pull in here today. We're checking out a pocket here. It's first part of November. You would expect the fish to be in the back of these things here in the Ozarks chasing shad. However, it's about 85 degrees and the water temperature is 64, so that hadn't really happened yet. Doesn't stop me though. I'm going to check them all anyway. So what we found out earlier today on these docks is that these fish are coming back and they're getting around these docks, but they're not really using the dock. They're just, right now they're using shade. Now if the weather changes, they've got a dock there, they'll get right underneath it. But today, shade seems to be the key. So even though the back of a pocket's not necessarily what we're going to key on today, I'm going to come back here and check this because the sun angle's coming out of the south on this dock and it's just casting a whole lot of shade out here. And what you get on a dock like this, one reason you see me staying back here off of it, the angle that you see that shade coming off that dock, that's going to continue on down in the water. So if this is 10 foot deep out here where you stop seeing the shade, that shade angle is going to go on down on out here. So I think a key place to fish that a lot of people miss sometimes is where that shade, where you see that end in the water, you'll quit fishing, but that shade angle's still down there and your bait's still down in that shade right out here. So I think that might help you catch fish every now and then if you think about that just a little bit. Now I'll throw that jig back in this stuff and try to get it back in deep dark shade and then bring it on out here. And somewhere usually in that light transfer where it starts getting a little less cloud, a little less dark, a little more light is where I like to find the fish, because that gives me something, a pattern in a pattern more or less, because you got shade pattern and you know where the shade's changing and you know that bracket to fish. So, like I say, the fish aren't really back in these pockets too much, but we've got to check them. I mean, we just got to. Okay, so with a dock like this, we're not getting a bunch of shade falling off this side, so I'm going to get up here and I'm going to run right down the side of this dock. We got a real narrow band on it. Again, this is not a real good dock because most of the shade is falling on the shore up there, which is where most of the dock's sitting. So, but it's in our way and we're going to fish everything. When we're fishing in the fall, fish can be anywhere. Every time you go, you'll find some places are good and some are not, and the next time you go back it might totally reverse itself. So we fish everything we come to when we hit these places like this, and then when you land on some fish you might catch 5, 6, 7 real quick out of one spot. Always hit the corner of a boat dock too, always. You just figure there's a fish there somewhere and he don't know which side he wants to be in. If you come across that corner you'll help him make up his mind. Now here's a really cool looking dock right here. First thing I notice, it's on a point. Main river channel running right out here, spawning pocket right here. Dude's got a beaver hut on the back side of it, man. Old logs and everything collect on this point. Big, deep dock. Water drops good off of it. You see how flat that is? We're in 17 foot of water here. This thing really falls off good. I'm gonna fish the crap out of a dock like this. Start with that corner right back there. You can see how deep the shade is on this thing. This is the place where we expect to catch fish right here. Again, here's another corner of a dock that's a swim platform, so it's got shade underneath it, and it has a swim ladder right here. So we've got multiple targets to hit right here. Swim ladders are always a good target. They're a metal tree hanging in the water. Just think of them that way, that you can't get hung up on. Today I'm using a really light weight because for one thing, water's still 64 degrees and these fish are just all over the water column there. I'm not really expecting to catch one real shallow or real deep. I'm getting a lot of bites as this thing's falling, and I want it to fall slower. I think it attracts more fish when it's falling. So you get them to a swim platform like this, you definitely want to put a jig up in there underneath the swim platform, as far as you can anyway, with a 7-foot rod. And now I'm going to get back off of this dock some, if this wind will let me, because we got deep water and dark shade right here, and it's really confined to that dock. So this is a place I'd expect to catch fish right here. The kind of places that I'm looking for, it's the kind of places I like. Okay, so now the other side of this same cove, we've got another dock out here. And this one, you can see all the fall downs and everything on it. It is laying on the edge of the river channel out here. And Again, we're getting shade off this bank now, and the shade from the boat dock is here in the morning. So this is a pretty shady spot. Right here sun, right here shade. So we've got a big area with a lot of contrast in water and everything, and we expect a lot of natural wood structure to be under this just because of the way of all these trees that are laying down all around it. You'd expect some timber to be out there, and we can on the depth finder see it, so we know some of it's out here. Got a lot of leaves that are collecting against this, which is going to in some ways draw bait fish in here, because they're gonna be, you know, feeding on zooplankton and stuff that are going to collect in this same kind of water right here. When you hear about wind pushing shad in, all it's doing is pushing the shad's food in, and when it balls up in a place, that's where the shad ball up. Well, the same effect's going to happen here with all these leaves. So this is a place where you'd expect to catch several fish out of right here. Again, you got deep dark shade falling back out here to sunshine. You got pretty steep transitionary bank right here. Everything a fish wants to spend his life is right here. He's got deep water to spend the winter, spring water, or, you know, a shallow gravel pocket to spawn in. So this is what I'd consider to be a primo dock right here, and I'd spend a little extra time fishing on this. So as we go across here, we'll see. You see a really good log laying up here. We're definitely going to fish that. There's one laying sideways right there, and a little bitty bass just chased something out of it. We'll just swim a jig over the top of that and drop it. That thing's laying in really shallow water. We're not going to pay a whole lot of attention to it. Okay, now you see how this tree right here is kind of laying out here, and it's laying on an angle out here toward deeper water. So we're going to get out here where we can come down the limbs. If you're coming down those limbs like that, you got a lot better chance to work your bait down through there without getting it hung up, because you can kind of going with the flow more or less. So kind of take the bait out, and most people that I see usually will not fish it far enough out, because there's parts of that tree way on out here that you can't even see. And when that stuff up there is getting beat all the time, you can bet them fish just learn to live out here. They're still in a tree. They're just out here where nobody bothers them. So pick those places where everybody else isn't throwing and just work your bait out to them.